Chapter 51. Essence Pulse. The plains were quieter now. Only the wind moved, bending the tall grass in long, slow waves. Spread formation, Bash said. No more than 30 meters apart. Take off the stragglers first. Keep spacing tight but controlled. Everyone nodded. The herd had drifted further east, leaving isolated wanderers grazing along the ridges. They moved quickly, silently. Shadows across gold. The first target stood near a shallow ridge, alone. Naira crouched, aligning her scope. 110 meters, she murmured. Take it. The rifle bucked once. The shot burned through the morning air, straight into the beast's eye. It fell before it even had time to cry out, body sliding across the dirt with a dull thud. Bash's chest jolted again. That same electric shock, bowing quick. CK, like a nerve catching fire for an instant. He flinched, pressing his palm against his sternum. Again, SC asked quietly. Yeah, thought. Same as before. Still no essence data recorded. No ability resonance. This isn't standard. He didn't answer. There was no time. They pressed on. The next two beasts fell even faster. Each time, they aimed for the eyes or the soft tissue at the throat. Every time, Bash felt it. The flicker in his chest. That same silent pulse right as the creature died. He didn't mention it now. The others were in rhythm. Focused, efficient. By the fourth kill, they were a machine. Karen's dual sidearms cut through the air. Callan's arrows traced perfect arcs. Nair's rifle boomed like punctuation. The next target fell near a slope. Richter moved in first, the others covering his approach. The massive creature turned, grunted, and lowered its head, but Richter didn't slow. He lunged beneath its swing and drove his hammer upward in a savage arc. The hit landed square under the jaw. The beast's skull cracked, a wet crunch echoing through the valley. It froze mid-motion, then collapsed like a collapsing tower. Richter stumbled back, panting, and then suddenly grabbed his chest. Rix, Leora shouted. He didn't speak at first. His mouth opened, breath hitching, pain etched across his face. Then, slowly, he straightened. I'm locked. The words hung in the air. Everyone stopped moving. He looked down at his hands, then up at the group. My ability, I unlocked it. Terran blinked. Wait, what now? Richter nodded, still half stunned, still holding his C. Hest, system core just classified me. Durability class. I can take more damage. That was it. The shock. It was Bash's heart dropped. The shock. Richter nodded quickly. Yeah, it hit hard. It hit me right when that thing dropped, like a pressure in my chest. And then, boom. System core confirmed activation. Bash's expression tightened. So that was your first time feeling it? Yeah, Richter said. Nothing before this. Guess I just needed to land the killing blow. Everyone exchanged looks of disbelief. Why the fourth one? Nair asked. We've all hit kills. Maybe it needs the final blow. Callan said. That has to be it. Or, Terran muttered, the system's just screwing with us. The team laughed quietly, the absurdity of it washing over them. Richter grinned through the adrenaline. Excitement burning in his eyes. Durability. How? Guess that means I can take a hit now. I want to see how much. Bash cut him off immediately. No, you're not testing it against these things. We'll figure it out later. He sighed but didn't argue. Fine, but still, feels good to get one. Let's keep moving, Bash said. Same formation. We're making progress. For the next hour, they hunted methodically, isolating lone beasts, cutting them down in quick, silent bursts. Every strike was cleaner than the last. They'd learned exactly where to aim. The eyes, the soft throat tissue, the joints just behind the horns. The razor-beam knives tore through anything they hit. Nair's rifle stunned when needed, but more often than not, her shot simply ended it outright. They moved with quiet confidence. The fear was gone, replaced by rhythm, but the confusion remained. Every time a beast fell, either Bash and Richter winced. The same brief pulse, sharp, internal, undeniable. Richter wiped his forehead. That's the sixth one, he said quietly. Didn't hit it, but felt something, like a jolt in my chest. Bash froze. He hadn't felt it this time. Confirmed. As he said in his head, essence resonance is proximity-based. When a creature dies, the closest Sparter, or the one delivering the killing blow, absorbs the released energy. So that's it, he thought. Distance or kill decides who gets it. He kept his expression neutral, pretending to check his sidearm while his mind raced. Whatever the system was doing, it wasn't random. By the time they'd cleared nearly 20 of the beasts, the team had relaxed, tired but confident. The herd still grazed in the distance, mostly undisturbed. The air smelled faintly of dust and blood, the light turning amber as the sun began its descent. Callan drew another arrow, lining up a shot on a straggler near the slope. Easy one, he said, exhaling slowly. The arrow flew true, but the beast shifted at the last second. The shot clipped its horn, deflecting upward and vanishing into the open field. No one thought anything of it, not until the echo came back a heartbeat later. A deep, distant crack, then a roar that rolled through the ground like thunder from below. Another joined it, louder, closer. "Oh, no," Taryn whispered. "You didn't." The dirt trembled beneath their boots, a low vibration that grew into a shudder. Then the plot. Ends moved. Every beast, dozens, maybe 100, lifted their heads in unison. For one terrible instant, they were silent, horns glinting in the orange light. Then they surged. A wall of muscle and fury turned toward the team, unified by some unseen trigger. Dust erupted into the air, the sound like a storm breaking apart the sky. "Sapete!" Bash shouted. "Move! Get high ground!" They ran. The ground convulsed under their feet. The air filled with the pounding rhythm of hooves, a drumbeat so heavy it shook their bones. It wasn't just panic anymore. The herd was in a frenzy, eyes red with aggression, every step tearing furrows into the plain. "Form line!" Vash yelled. "Eyes, throats, joints, make them fall!" They spun and took position across a low ridge of rock and dirt. Nair dropped to one knee, rifle pressed to her shoulder. The weapon whined as it charged, the barrel glowing faintly before she squeezed the trigger. A bolt snapped through the haze, slanting into the lead beast's skull. It froze mid-stride, legs locking before momentum pitched it sideways into the dirt, crushing two others in its wake. "Next!" Bash barked. Callan's arrows followed in a steady rhythm. Whip, 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 each one burying deep into eyes and necks, turning forward momentum into collapse. Rixer met the first that breached their line. His hammer swung in a brutal arc, colliding with a horn and sending fragments flying. The beast's head snapped to the side, and he pivoted, striking again before it could recover. Plain metal or not, the force was enough to shatter bone. Taryn fired in measured bursts, her sidearms punching through softened targets, throat, underbelly, joints, each round dropping a creature that got too close. The aura and dart broke from cover, cutting into the flank. Their blades flashed like mirrors, slicing through sinew and artery before they rolled clear of trampling hooves. They worked in tandem, ducking and striking, moving like extensions of one another. The herd pressed harder. Dust engulfed everything. The world became a storm of sound and motion. Gunfire, roars, metal against bone, the thunder of 100 hooves shaking the ridge apart. Ash fired into the chaos, his breathing sharp and even, every movement automatic. A beast fell, then another. The air thickened with the smell of dust and blood and heat. Shock. His chest flared again. Ha! Ardy enough to buckle him. He stumbled, teeth clenched, vision flickering white before it passed. He forced his focus back. Later, figure it out later. Through the storm he caught glimpses of Rixer. Massive, unstoppable, swinging wild but deliberate, his face a mask of rage and precision. Every time a creature fell near him, his body jerked with that same involuntary recoil, but he kept swinging. They moved like parts of a machine. Instinct, training, desperation. Nair fired again, a clean shot that cracked across the plain. The bullet tore through the air and struck another front runner in the chest. The beast ceased, stunned mid-leap, crashing into its own kind. Dozens went down in a wave, horns tangling, bodies slamming together in confusion. Callan's arrows followed, striking at weak end spots, eyes, necks, open wounds from the collapse. Taryn reloaded on instinct, dropping an empty mag, sliding a new one in, every motion fluid. "Keep firing," she shouted. Lure and dart darted between fallen bodies, blades finding soft tissue as they moved from one down beast to the next, finishing those still threshing. The air vibrated with fury. The herd was thinning, but those that remained came faster, closer, driven mad by blood and noise. Bash moved with the rhythm. Shoot, pivot, reload, shoot again. His arm ached, his lungs burned, but his mind was still locked in that razor focus. Another shock hit him, sharper this time. His vision blurred for a second before clearing. A quick glance showed Rixer flinch in the distance, different timing, not simultaneous. Closest G.T.S. the surge, he thought grimly. He pushed through it, eyes narrowing as he fired another burst into a charging beast's throat. Then, all at once, the sound began to die. When Bash finally looked up, the field ahead was unrecognizable. Dozens of massive bodies lay broken and still, sprawled across churned soil and pools of blood. A few staggered weakly before collapsing, and beyond them, 5 or 6 more ran limping toward the horizon, fading into the haze. Silence followed. Heavy, uneven breathing filled the void. The team stood in a loose semicircle, weapons half raised, waiting for a movement that never came. Bash lowered his gun, chest still aching from dozens of the phantom surges. The pain was dull now, fading into a slow thrum under his sternum. Rixer was bent over, one hand on his knee, the other clutching his chest. He looked up, gave a breathless grin. Everyone okay? Callan nodded, stringing another arrow out of habit. Alive. Naira reloaded slowly. Barely. Taryn wiped grime from her cheek, her voice tight but steady. I think we passed the teamwork test. Rixer let out a half-crazed laugh. Durability already paying off. Bash didn't answer. His eyes scanned the field, the torn earth, the still twitching carcasses. The smell of iron hung thick, the setting sun washing everything in amber light. Essence saturation detected. SC murmured faintly in his head. You should collect quickly. He nodded once. Grab the fragments, he said quietly, before something else shows up. They moved in silence, exhaustion setting in only after the adrenaline ebbed. One by one, they cut through the fallen beasts, severing horns with practiced precision. Each horn glowed faintly as it came free, then dimmed again as Bash placed it into the protective containment bag clipped to his belt. The bag shimmered faintly with containment threads, expanding as each beast fragment was stored, sealing itself automatically after every addition. One by one, the others followed his lead, depositing their fragments into their own bags until the battlefield was stripped of trophies. The air was still thick with the iron tang of blood and dust, but the quiet that followed felt heavier than the chaos that came before. When the last body had sunk into the earth, Bash brought the team together near the ridge. Callan knelt beside his bag, counting softly under his BR. Ethwile, Terran, and Leora compared tallies. That's all of them, Nair said at last, tightening the strap on hers. Bash opened his bag and poured the data readout across his visor. The display flickered, numbers stacking in a neat column before settling. 103 fragments. He did the math automatically. 3 points each, he murmured. 309 total. A low whistle came from Rixer. Not bad for a warm-up. Bash's eyes flickered again, his system clock overlay appearing at the corner of his vision. 0.27/3.00. He stared at it for a long moment, then exhaled through his nose, a faint smile tugging at one corner of his mouth. We just got started. Thank you for reading this chapter. Your support means the world to me. If you enjoyed it, please consider giving a thumbs up, leaving a positive review or a comment. It truly helps a debut author like myself. As this is my first novel, I am still learning, and I would love to hear your constructive feedback to help me improve. I'll do my best to reply to your comments. If you would like a better understanding of Bash's origin and family, check out my book Before the Genesis. It tells the story of Kyle and Abby and has some lead up right into this novel. Rundock Chapter 52. The next hunt. Bash brought up the map projection in front of everyone. A blue grid expanded over the field, pulsing faintly with their coordinates. 4 glowing zones marked nearest targets. Callan leaned in, brushing dust from his gauntlet. So where to next? Back into a swarm? Rixer asked dryly. Taryn gave him a sideways glance. Why, we volunteering to tank that? He snorted. Didn't think so. Bash zoomed in on the nearest readings. Single target zones only. Swarms drain stamina fast, and packs will surround us if we're not careful. He pointed to a point farthest across the map. That one, single entity, far side of the valley. Roughly 5 clicks. Nair folded her arms. 5 clicks of open field after a full-scale stampede, which is exactly why we need the walk, Bash said. Cool off, reset our heads. We talk, we plan, then we hunt. Rixer rolled his shoulders, already hefting his hammer. Fine, but if my legs cramp, you're carrying me. Terrence smirked. Sure, if you count dragging as carrying. They started moving, leaving the torn plain behind. The earth here was lighter, scattered with shards of pale stone. He that caught the light like glass. The breeze carried a faint metallic taste and the smell of trampled vegetation. For several minutes no one spoke. The silence wasn't awkward. It was the calm that followed chaos. Eventually Taryn broke it. That stampede could have gone worse. Callan grunted. Could have gone better, too. My shot's the reason it started. Bash shook his head. Doesn't matter who fired first. The data's old. The herd patterns probably shifted. We adapted. Barely, Richter muttered, rubbing the bruise on his arm. One more wave and I'd have been a Sparta pancake. Nair smirked faintly. A durable pancake now. Exactly, he said, brightening a little. See, upgrades already working. The small laughter eased the tension. For a moment, they almost felt like they were walking. Back to the training dorms after another long drill. But Bash's focus kept drifting. SE, we need answers, he thought. These surges, they are too consistent to be random. Agreed, she said in her usual even tone. Each essence discharge within 100 meters triggers a measurable spike in your vitals, yet your internal channels remain dormant. Could it be proximity interference? Richter's resonance overlapping mine? No, essence absorption cannot duplicate across cores. Each system processes independently. Then what's causing the shock? Unknown. Population density is irrelevant. The field binds directly to your personal essence signature. So you don't know. Correct. But I'm recording every incident. Bash exhaled silently, watching dust swirl around his boots. Recording, and G's not fixing it, he thought, but didn't say it. The terrain changed gradually, sloping upward into low ridges covered in gray leaf trees. The canopy shimmered faintly, reacting to touches they brushed through. Feels alive, Leora murmured. Everything here does, Nair replied, adjusting her scope. Hold, heat spike, northwest quadrant. Bash halted the group and brought up his own overlay. One by one, the others followed, their eyes lighting the air with scanning grids. A single crimson silhouette pulsed behind a dense cluster of brush. Its body was sleek and coiled, feline in outline, though longer, leaner. Massive forelimbs ended in talons that curved like blades, and the heat signature around its chest burned bright and fast. Tier 1 Apex, SC confirmed quietly in Bash's E.R. Fast type, Richter muttered. Figures. Taryn cocked her sidearm. Faster than you, big guy? He gave her a grin. Not for long. Formation, Callan asked. Bash studied the map, marking positions. Richter up front. Draw its focus, keep it off the shooters. Leora and Dark, wide flanks. Callan and Nair, long range. Taryn and I will move midline. Coordinate. Copy, Nair said immediately. The group spread out, boots whispering against the soft soil. The faint hum of their system core systems filled the air, syncing location markers and vitals. Through the foliage, Bash caught a glimmer of motion, a twitch of muscle, the flash of eyes that reflected like molten silver. On my mark, he whispered. 3, 2, 1. Richter broke cover first, hammer raised. The creature reacted instantly, exploding from the bush with terrifying speed. It was on him in seconds, a blur of pale fur, sinew, and gleaming claws. Contact! Richter roared, swinging low. The blow barely missed as the beast vaulted over him, landing behind with a thud that shook the ground. Taryn fired. 2 shots cracked out, but the rounds only grazed its hide, leaving shallow cuts that closed almost instantly. Armor layers thick, she shouted. Callan loosed an arrow. Another, each shot forcing it sideways, but none piercing deep enough to slow it. Nair's voice cut through the comms. Can't get a clear shot. Too fast. The creature pivoted and lunged at Taryn. Bash didn't think. He moved. He sprinted, drawing one of his throwing knives and letting instinct guide him. The weapon left his hand in a clean, perfect arc. The blade struck the creature's shoulder and sank deep. The metal flared red, the Razorvine imbuement activating, the wound tearing wider, spilling dark blood across its flank. The beast screeched and stumbled, hind leg buckling. Direct hit, Bash shouted. Opening, Naira replied. Her rifle whined, then fired. A bright round slammed into the creature's side, sending a ripple of energy through its body. It convulsed, frozen in place for half a second before toppling sideways. Sun confirmed, she said, already loading the next. Richter took advantage, charging forward and swinging downward. The hammer cracked against its forelimb, splintering bone and forcing it to the ground. Leora and Dark closed in from opposite sides. Their blades flashed in unison. 2 shallow slash, ease across the ribs, another under the jaw. The creature howled and thrashed, dirt and leaves flying. Taryn kept firing, each shot punctuated by the steady rhythm of her breath. Left joint, take it. Callan adjusted his aim, arrow flying true this time. It struck behind the creature's ear, drawing another roar of pain. Nair's next stun hit almost immediately after. The beast collapsed completely, trembling. Now, Bash barked. Leora darted in again, her blade sliding between ribs, deep and sure. The motion was fluid, final. The roar cut off mid-sound. The creature went still. Silence settled over the woods, broken only by the hiss of dissipating energy. Bash took a slow breath, then staggered. The surge hit harder this time, a violent pulse through his chest that sent his vision spinning. For a moment, SC, report, essence transfer detected, she answered. However, there is still no corresponding unlock. You remain dormant. Why stronger this time? Classification difference. SC replied. This creature was Tier 1 Apex. Essence density and release magnitude are higher than the Tier 1 greater types you previously encountered. The reaction intensity scales with the target's rank. So the stronger the kill, the harder the hit. Precisely. Bash exhaled through his nose. Good to know. Not fun, but good. He steadied himself, jaw tight, grabbed the fragment. Nair said quietly. Bash nodded and approached the fallen beast. Up close, it was even larger than he'd realized. Muscle and sinew built for pure velocity. Its claws were long, translucent, each one catching the faint light filtering through the canopy. He crouched, pressed his dagger to the joint of the largest claw, and pried it loose. It resisted for a second before snapping free with a sharp crack. The severed piece glowed softly, golden veins running across its curved surface. Got it, he said, slipping it into his containment pouch. The bag pulsed once as it absorbed the fragment, locking it away. Richter gave a grin that was half exhaustion, half pride. We're getting good at this. Good enough to survive, Taryn replied, wiping her pistol barrel with a strip of cloth. Callan walked a slow circle around the corpse. Hard to believe this thing was alone. Something that big shouldn't hunt solo. They always start solo, Nair said, until the strong ones draw followers. Let's hope we're gone before that happens, Leora muttered. Bash checked his display. 12 points added. The counter blinked. 0.51/3.00. He gave a short nod. Plenty of time left. Pack up. We're heading to the next zone. The creature's body began to fade, light rising off it in slow, spiraling tendrils before sinking into the ground. The soil shimmered faintly where it vanished, as if drinking the remains. Same as the grazers, Dark said. Yeah, Bash replied. Whatever this planet is made of, it reclaims everything. He looked once more at the spot where the beast had fallen, then turned toward the team. Map check, he said. The projection reappeared between them, casting faint light across the clearing. One marker blinked 2 clicks east, its readings dense, pulsing rapidly across the grid. Nair frowned. That's a swarm zone. 2 clicks isn't far, Callan said, checking his weapon. But that's a lot of signatures packed together. Richter grinned, hefting his hammer. Closer means faster points. Taryn holstered her sidearm and gave him a look. Or faster death if we're sloppy. They won't move like the grazers, Bash said. Swarm types coordinate in bursts. Smaller, faster, but they break if we cut the center out. Stay tight, keep comms open, and don't chase. Nair adjusted her rifle scope, tone measured. So same principle, control the fight, not the kill. Exactly, Bash replied. We go in, clean, and we keep it contained. The group nodded, tension returning but tempered by focus. He started down the incline, the others falling into formation behind him. SE, he asked Sil and Lai, you sure about that energy classification? Positive. Swarm type resonance, Tier 1. Estimated common rank. Minimal elemental output. Minimal still means dangerous. Danger appears to be your default state. He almost smiled. You're learning sarcasm. Observation. Imitation of user speech patterns. Ah, he muttered under his breath. Richter glanced over. You good? Fine, Bash said simply. Eyes forward. Bash tightened his grip on his weapon. The surge in his chest had faded, but the echo remained. He glanced once at his display again. 0.51/3.00. Plenty of time, plenty to prove. Let's move, he said. Thank you for reading this chapter. Your support means the world to me. If you enjoyed it, please consider giving a thumbs up, leaving a positive review or a comment. It really helps a debut author like myself. As this is my first novel, I am still learning, and I would love to hear your constructive feedback to help me improve. I'll do my best to reply to your comments. If you would like a better understanding of Bash's origin and family, check out my book Before the Genesis. It tells the story of Kyle and Abby and has some lead up right into this novel. Rundock Chapter 53. The Swarm. The march to the next zone was short, barely 2 clicks, but after the last 2 battles, the silence between them felt heavier than the distance. The faint hum of their boots over packed soil was the only sound. Callan finally broke it. We'd had swarms in simulation runs, he said, voice low. 3 melee up front, range behind, keep rotation tight. Remember? Taryn nodded. Yeah, easy in VR. Out here, a lot harder to reset when someone misses. Nair checked her rifle's readout. At least they are T1C. That's manageable if we don't get surrounded. Richter snorted. Manageable until you're chewing on wings. Let's just stick to formation, Bash said. Eyes forward. No deviations. We hit fast. We clear fast. The others murmured assent and fell back into focus. Bash stayed quiet, his mind elsewhere. SC, he thought, I need clarity on these surges. You've recorded numerous instances since arrival, she replied, each aligned with essence transfer events from defeated creatures. First was durability, then speed, and nothing's unlocked. Just stronger reactions. Why? Correlation unclear, she said. The first surge aligned with Richter's durability, activation. The second with your own absorption from the apex predator, speed type essence. Neither produced an ability manifestation in your core. Data inconsistency persists. Bash's jaw tightened. What about before? Before I woke up in this body. The Sparter who had it before me. I saw him fight. He bent the ground, froze air, absorbed missile fire, then he reincarnated. Reviewing archive memory files, she replied. After a pause, The previous system data was still updating during your awakening. Several classifications were mistagged, meaning what you observed. The ice manipulation is an elemental subtype of water control. The absorption and reflection you recall are forms of energy manipulation. The ability to bend the ground falls under mineral manipulation. Combined with durability and reincarnation, that accounts for 5 known abilities. Bash frowned, and if he also had speed, that would make 6 distinct abilities. How rare is that? That would make 6 distinct abilities. Statistically, 1% of greens ever reach that level. Most possess 3. Roughly half awaken a 4th. Anything beyond 5 is considered extraordinary. 7 is nearly myth. Could I be inheriting fragments of his? Possibly residual data, she said, but nothing definitive. If that's the case, the next battle will confirm it. Prepare for stronger feedback and a lot more shocks. Bash exhaled slowly. Can't wait. They crested a low ridge and the valley opened before them. The team stopped dead. The air shimmered. Movement rippled across the hollow like a living cloud. Thousands of small bodies hovered and shifted in the light, wings catching the sun in rapid, metallic flashes. The sound hit next, a deep, collective hum that crawled under the skin. Richter muttered, "That's not a swarm. That's a storm." Karen squinted through the haze. "Are we sure we want to do this?" Bash's thought. SE. Confirmed classification. Confirmed. Tier 1 common. Power type swarm. He exhaled. "Let's hope you're wrong about being prepared for shocks." Then, aloud to the team, "They are T1C power type. We clear them. Make every shot count. We rest after this." No one argued. They moved into formation. 3 melee up front. Bash and Terran in the middle. Callan and Naira covering from the rear. Rixer, Leora, Dark, draw their attention. Stay mobile. Callan, Nair, aim low. Go for abdomens. Terran, you're with me. Mid-range support. On my signal. They spread out just enough for maneuvering room. Weapons ready. Bash raised his hand. Now, gunfire and arrows erupted in unison. The first volley tore through the leading edge of the swarm, bullets and arrows ripping through the air like a storm of precision. Each round struck home, bursting through chitin and wings, scattering iridescent fragments that shimmered briefly before falling lifeless. The air filled with the harsh crack of gunfire, the twang of bowstrings, and the sizzling hiss of ruptured abdomens. The swarm reacted instantly. It didn't falter. It adapted. The front ranks folded back while the rear surged forward, twisting in a corkscrew, a movement that reformed into a rolling wave. That hum grew deafening, a living wall of vibration and rage. "Here they come!" Richter roared. The front 3 braced as the mass descended, an avalanche of wings, claws, and stingers. The sound alone shook the ground. Richter swung wide, his warhammer connecting with a solid thud that burst a cluster mid-flight, spraying translucent fluid across the dirt. Leora moved like a dancer beside him. Her twin blades flashed in sweeping arcs, each strike leaving trails of shattered exoskeleton. Dark dropped low, spinning through the melee, his short blades flashing as he sheared through legs and wings before rolling back to his feet. Behind them, the ranged team unleashed everything they had. Callan's arrows came in a relentless rhythm, the hiss and snap of the bowstring almost mechanical. Each shaft found its mark, through eyes, through throats, through wings, every motion drawn from instinct. One arrow pinned 2 of the creatures together, sending them spinning out of the air. Naira's rifle cracked like thunder, every shot perfectly timed between Callan's volleys. Each round burned to its target, dropping another attacker before it could close the distance. When one of the creatures got within a meter, she didn't hesitate. She turned, fired point blank, and stepped through the burst of disintegrating wings without slowing. "Push them back!" Bash yelled. "Keep the line!" Karen and Bash moved as one. She fired in bursts, sharp and deliberate, her dual sidearms cutting clean holes in the swarm. The recoil kicked in rhythm with Bash's shots, the 2 weaving their trade wise to overlap seamlessly. He covered her reloads, she covered his. There was barely a flicker of silence between volleys. Bash's trigger rhythm was flawless, short bursts, quick reload, no hesitation. His breathing stayed even, his steps controlled. When the line began to crack, when a gap opened too close for comfort, his hand flicked down and came up with steel. A knife left his fingers like a whisper of silver. The blade buried itself deep beneath a wing joint, severing tendon and dropping the creature instantly. Another lunge from the side, another flash, another throw, this one slicing through its thorax and embedding in the dirt beyond. Each knife was calculated, deliberate, retrieved only when the danger ebbed. He fought with precision, not panic. No wasted movement, no wasted rounds. Richter's hammer came down again with a grunt, the impact sending a shockwave through the ground. A dozen of the creatures crashed down in front of him. "I'm starting to hate flying things," he roared. "Welcome to the club," Terran shouted back, dropping another 3 with clean shots through their centers. A sharp sting hit Bash's shoulder as one of the swarm grazed him, the tip of a stinger slicing through his fatigues. He twisted, firing point blank, blasting the creature apart before it could recover. Another wave surged down from above, a mass of shadows and sound. The air thickened, hot, buzzing, suffocating. The swarm pressed closer, their collective hum turning into a shriek that rattled through bone. Bash's ears rang. His squad tightened formation, closing gaps. I remember moving as if tied to the same invisible rhythm. Left flank, Leora shouted. Nair pivoted, rifle snapping toward the call, her shot exploding through a dense knot of wings that had broken formation. Callan followed instantly with 2 arrows, one piercing ahead, the other clipping a wing and sending another spiraling into the dirt. Shock after shock. The pulses hit Bash's chest, faint but sharp. He was barely flinching this time, but gritting his teeth. Minor reactions, as he reported in his head. Essence levels consistent with Tier 1 common. Yeah, he thought grimly. Barely the tickle. He pushed forward through the haze. For every one that fell, 2 more filled the gap. The front 3 were covered in fluid and dust, backs pressed together as they swung, stabbed, and crushed, Ed through the endless motion. Richter took a hit to the arm, staggered, then pivoted with the roar and smashed his hammer in a full arc that cleared a 5-meter radius. Leora's blades carved twin paths through the air, glowing faintly with reflected light. Dark moved in between them, his short blade stabbing up through abdomens before twisting out with practiced precision. Keep it tight, Bash yelled. Don't let them flank. Trying. Richter grunted, ducking just as one of Nair's bullets cut through a creature inches above his head. Callan's quiver was half empty now, arrows flying faster, his breathing rough. Running low. Make every one count, Bash shouted back, firing past his shoulder to take out a drone diving from above. Minutes blurred together. Gunfire, shouts, the tearing, buzz of wings. The ground beneath them was slick with ichor, their boots slipping in it as they kept formation. Bash's ears rang from the constant thunder of Nair's rifle and Terran's pistols. Then, slowly, the hum began to thin. The swarm faltered, gaps forming in the mass. Their numbers were breaking. Hold, Bash commanded. Don't rush it. They tightened formation again, advancing step by step, clearing the field with methodical precision. One by one, the flying bodies dropped, their wing beats fading into the background. When silence finally came, it was sudden, an abrupt, hollow absence. Bash lowered his weapon, scanning the battlefield. Only scattered movement remained, injured creatures twitching weakly on the ground. Finish them, he said quietly. They moved as a unit, walking through the aftermath, stabbing or shooting anything still alive until the field was still once more. The plain was carpeted in bodies, hundreds of them. Black shells cracked open, wings scattered like glass shards under the pale light. The stench of burnt resin hung thick, and the only sound left was their breathing. Bash exhaled, lowering his weapon. Clear. The team stood among the wreckage, panting, coated in grime and fragments of chitin, the adrenaline slowly bleeding off. Around them, the hum of the swarm finally died, leaving the quiet weight of victory behind. Richter dropped to one knee, chest heaving. Tell me that was all of them. Nair's rifle clicked as she reloaded. All I can see. Terran sank onto a rock, brushing dust from her arm. I don't care what they were class of. Wide S. That was a lot of T1C. Bash was breathing hard too, the faint echo of residual shock still tingling in his chest. Essence saturation detected, as he said softly. Collective discharge from swarm confirmed. Felt it, he replied. Weaker each time. Manageable. That aligns with power type essence. Distribution diluted among many hosts. Good, he said. Let's keep it that way. The group sat in a rough circle, panting, sweat cutting lines through the dust on their faces. Singers, Bash said after a moment. Fragments are the stingers. Start collecting. No one argued. They spread out, moving carefully through the field. Each severed stinger glowed faintly when touched, pulsing once before dimming as it entered the containment bag. Time blurred as they worked, silent except for the faint hum of the bag sealing each edition. When the last stinger was stored, Bash glanced at his display. 1,137 fragments. He whistled low. That's a lot. Callan leaned back on his heels. That's over 1,000 kills. Richter let out a rough laugh. And I feel every one of them. Bash opened the mission timer on his watch. 0.81/3.00. He nodded slowly. That all took a quarter of the day. Feels like it, Terran said, slumping back against her pack. Bash ordered quietly. Hydrate. We rest 1 hour, then reassess. They didn't need to be told twice. Rations came out, the sound of wrappers and canteens breaking the quiet. The air smelled of metal and dust and faintly of the still evaporating remains of the swarm after they'd eaten. They set up a minimal camp along the edge of the clearing, light field tents and motion sensors in a half circle. Our shifts, Bash said. I'll take first. The others nodded, too tired to argue. Within minutes, the camp was silent except for slow, steady breathing. Bash remained seated, gaze sweeping the field. The ground was already absorbing the bodies, the same slow process as before. The black shell sank into the soil, leaving faint ripples of light before fading completely. 3 battles, 3 classifications, he murmured. Durability, speed, and power. Confirmed, SC said. All match standard essence categories. Yet none triggered your awakening sequence. So I'm collecting without unlocking. Yes, it shouldn't be possible. He sighed. Add that to the list of mysteries. Already logged. He opened the map. Peed again. 2 markers had appeared. One a single target zone only 2 clicks away. The other, one of the original 5, the larger pack type reading 4 clicks in the opposite direction. He stared at them for a long moment, mind-weighing possibilities. Then he glanced back at the field, now bare, clean, as if the battle had never happened. The planet was swallowing everything. Bash's timer ticked quietly in the corner of his display. 0.83/3.00. Not even a full day gone. Bash settled against the rock, sidearm resting across his knees. The others were already down motionless shapes beneath the dim glow of the fading sky. The field around them was quiet now. Nothing left but wind moving through the tall grass and the faint shimmer of the distant plains. He scanned slowly, eyes tracing the very shadow, every flicker of movement that wasn't there. His breathing evened out, heartbeat steadying after the chaos of the fight. The calm was unnatural after the swarm's deafening roar, and that contrast made it harder to trust. Minutes passed, maybe more than an hour. Time lost its edges. The world stayed still. When his internal timer pulsed, Bash pushed himself to his feet, muscles tight and heavy from fatigue. He moved to Rixer, crouched, and gave his shoulder a firm shake. Rixer stirred instantly, weeks of conditioning overriding exhaustion. He blinked once, nodded, and reached for his hammer. Your turn, Bash said quietly. Rixer grunted acknowledgement and took position near the perimeter, scanning the horizon without another word. Bash didn't linger. He dropped back to his bedroll, slid the rifle beside him, and was asleep before his head hit the ground. Thank you for reading this chapter. Your support means the world to me. If you enjoyed it, please consider giving a thumbs up, leaving a positive review or a comment. It truly helps a debut author like myself. As this is my first novel, I am still learning, and I would love to hear your constructive feedback to help me improve. I'll do my best to reply to your comments. If you would like a better understanding of Bash's origin and family, check out my book Before the Genesis. It tells the story of Kyle and Abby and has some lead up right into this novel. Rundock Chapter 54. Resonance and recovery. The morning came slow, light filtering through the pale mist that hung over the field where they'd caught. Head. The air was still cool, carrying only the faint whisper of distant movement. One by one, the team stirred, stretching, shaking off the fatigue that even rest couldn't completely erase. Ash was already sitting up, boots laced, running a systems check through his wrist display. The others followed routine, hydration, field scans, protein rations. Taryn tossed Bash a bar before opening one for herself. Breakfast of champions, she said dryly, chewing without enthusiasm. Better than nothing, Rixer grunted, cracking his neck. Could use a full meal, though. After yesterday, Callan said, I'm not sure I could eat anything heavier. Still better than that swarm sludge, Nair muttered, adjusting the calibration on her rifle. They ate quietly for a moment. Then, inevitably, the conversation turned to logistics. Ammo check, Bash said. Karen pulled up her counter. 400 rounds left. I've got about 700, Bash said. We'll balance it. About 550 each. He handed over a fresh mag pouch. Appreciated, Callan. He tapped the bundle strapped to his leg. Recovered most of what I fired. 190 left out of 200. Efficient, Rixer said. Or lucky, Callan replied. Depends on how you look at it. Naira looked at her rifle slightly. 500 rounds even. Enough if we don't run into another hive. That's the plan, Bash said, pulling up the holo map. The soft grid shimmered into view, showing their position and the familiar icons. We've got 2 options. Backtrack to the pack we skipped or hit the next individual reading. About 3 clicks out. The group glanced over the map. No hesitation in their answer. Individual, Taryn said first. Agreed, Callan echoed. Less risk, more control. The Or added. Then that's where we're going, Bash said. He flicked his display closed and checked his timer. 1.16/3.00. A quiet thought crossed his mind as he tightened his gear. I wonder how the others are doing. Doesn't matter, as he said inside his head. Calm as ever. You can only control your outcome. not theirs. He nodded once. Fair point. They packed up efficiently, falling into formation as they set out across the uneven terrain. The light was harsh, but the air crisp. Grass hissed beneath their boots, and in the distance, the sound of rushing water hinted at the river cutting through the region. It didn't take long to reach the new coordinates, barely the 20-minute walk at their pace. The land sloped downward into a shallow basin dotted with low shrubs and exposed rock. And there, near the center, movement caught their eyes. A raptor-like beast, lean and mumbling, its wings half feathered, half scaled, was locked in a brutal struggle. In its talons it clutched a smaller creature, squat and powerful, its hide patterned with dull crystal plates and mineralized fur spines that glinted like crushed stone. Another, larger one, likely the parent, slammed its forelimbs, sheathed in rough, rock-bound armor, against the raptor's legs with earth-shaking force. The sound was primal, cracks, shrieks, the dull thud of impact as the raptor tried to lift off and failed. What the Hellrichter whispered. The map said one individual, Callan muttered. Nair frowned. Guess that's what based on previous surveys really means. Correct. SE confirmed in Bash's head, map readings represent established migration and behavior patterns, not real-time tracking. Bash exhaled slowly. Noted. The raptor screeched, wings flaring as it raked claws across the larger creature's face. The blow barely made a mark. The beast's skin glinted with a rocky sheen. What are we looking at? Bash asked silently. Raptors, Tier 1 advanced, healing type. Rabbits, Tier 1 greater, mineral type. SE replied. Durable, hard to kill. The raptor has high regenerative potential but insufficient offensive power to breach mineral defense. Neither poses immediate threat unless provoked. However, the fight is energy intensive. The raptor will weaken quickly. Bash relayed it to the others. Healing type versus mineral type. The birds got stamina but no bite. The rabbits are tougher, but slower. If we play it right, we might not have to waste much. They watched in silence for another minute. The raptor's movements were losing fluidity. Its wing beat sluggish. The smaller creature in its grip still squirmed weakly while the mother continued to pound at its flank, each impact dull but relentless. Terran grimaced. Looks like it's losing. Exactly, Bash said. We wait for the right moment, then hit them all at once. Rixer smirked. You're thinking kill steal. I'm thinking efficiency, Bash corrected. As the raptor faltered, the group got into position. Here's the plan, Bash said. When I tease on its last legs, we all focus fire on the raptor. Quick kill. As soon as it drops Rixer, Terran, Lidora, Callan your team 1. Take the mother. Nair, Dark, and I handle the small one. Eyes and joints. Their hides mineral. Piercing's the only way through. Everyone nodded, checking weapons one last time. Targets confirmed. SE said in his head. Execute. Bash ordered. The timing was perfect. The raptor turned, exposed its head, and the mid and ranged members fired. The synchronized volley was beautiful in its precision. Bullets and arrows all converging on a single point. Every shot struck within milliseconds of each other. The raptor convulsed mid-shriek, head snapping back, and dropped instantly, crashing to the ground in a cloud of dust. Before the body had even hit the RT, both melee squads were moving. The rabbits reacted with frightening speed. The mother slammed one foreleg into the ground, sending a shock through the soil that knocked Leor slightly off balance. Rixer met the next swing head-on, hammer striking the heart and limb with a boom that echoed through the valley. Terran fired from behind him, rounds sparking off the beast's carapace. The baby creature squealed and lunged toward Bash's group, claws digging furrows in the ground. Nair's rifle cracked, hitting it square in the chest. It stumbled, then leapt again, faster than expected. Bash rolled aside, firing twice into its leg joints while Dark darted forward, blades flashing. The clash was chaos. Stone-hard limbs against steel, gunfire mixing with shouts and roars. At the beginning of all of Chaos scream tore through the field. Terran, her voice cut through the noise, raw and sharp. She dropped her weapon and fell to one knee, clutching her chest as if struck. Terran, Rixer yelled, eyes wide, but she waved him off weakly, shaking her head. Keep fighting, Bash ordered. Focus. The battle pressed on. 10 minutes felt like an eternity of stalemate. Every time they scored a hit, the rabbit's eyes shut reflexively, their carapace tightening, deflecting rounds. Leora managed to slice along the flank of the larger one, but the cut barely penetrated. They're closing off, Callan shouted. Find openings, eyes, ears, joints. Bash barked back. Callan drew, aimed, and released. The arrow flew true, disappearing into the ear canal of the mother. She stiffened, staggered, and crashed sideways. At that same instant, Leora gasped a low, pained sound and bent forward, both hands clutching her chest. What the hell, Richter started, but before anyone could react, Nair fired again, a clean shot through the baby's ear. The small creature convulsed and fell limp. A third reaction hit instantly. Dark, dropping to one knee with a grunt, hand to his sternum, face contorted in pain. The battlefield went still. Dust hung in the air. Then, one by one, the three of them straightened, breathing ragged, but alive. Vash rushed over with the others. Report. Taryn managed a shaky grin that was intense. Healing type, confirmed. I'm unlocked. She tapped her chest lightly. Felt like my core was going to explode. The others looked at her in disbelief, then broke into quick laughter and relief. You're a healer? Rixer asked, incredulous. She nodded. Yes, so. Leora raised a trembling hand. Mineral. Elemental resonance. Darik coughed once, catching his breath. Same here. Solid alignment. Rixer grinned wide, wiping sweat from his brow. So let me get this straight. We've got me tanking, or healing, 2 mineral DPS, and everyone else laying down shots. We're unstoppable. Bash couldn't help a faint smirk. If you all figure out how to use those abilities, maybe, work with your system cores, learn what you've got. We'll adapt. Taryn leaned back against a half-collapsed wall, flexing her fingers. Pretty sure that's it for me. Browns usually only get one ability, 2 if you're one of the lucky 5%. Dark nodded beside her. Same, but I am fine with it. This fits me. Close range, melee, break things until they stop moving. I'll take that. Taryn smiled faintly. I'm not complaining either. Healers are rare. Browns usually get the grunt work in the guilds, porters, scouts, repair crews. If I can actually heal, that changes everything. Across from them, Leora, one of the Greys, let out a slow breath. Mineral for me, she said. Not bad, just not what I was hoping for. Was aiming for something physical. Dar chuckled. You'll still be useful up close. Solid cover, heavy strikes. You can form shields or layer your skin in stone. That's perfect for frontline work. Richter gestured with one hand, grin returning. Don't count yourselves out yet. Greys have about a 50% chance to pull a second unlock. The same obviously goes for me. Could still surprise you. Bash looked over them all, the corners of his mouth softening. Doesn't matter what color or class you've got. It's not the weapon that decides the fight. It's the one who wields it. For a moment his gaze drifted past them, unfocused, remembering his grandfather Masaharu, steady hands, rough voice, and the same quiet certainty behind every strike. They took a moment to gather themselves, then turned back to the fallen beasts. So Nair said slowly, was the map showing the rabbits or the raptor? Bash shrugged. Could be either, or we just got lucky. They began harvesting the fragments, 2 T1G from the rabbits and 1 T1A from the raptor. The work came easier now, guided by instinct. The rabbits' fragments shimmered beneath the miner, outplating on their back feet, each pulse leaving behind dull stone dust. The raptor's essence had settled in its beak, sharp, resonant, and faintly warm to the touch. When the last one came free, all 3 fragments pulsed together, then condensed into neat, glowing trinkets. As Bash slipped the last one into his pouch, he pulled up the map again. Their current zone flickered faintly, the border shifting from orange to gray as his system marked it cleared. Near the eastern edge, beside a thin blue line, a new marker pulsed into view. River, he said aloud. SE, elemental zones match historical frequencies here. Mineral, wind, water. Bash, right, they are common, not linked. Given the river, water's the likely projection. They all exchanged glances, tired but eager. Rixer adjusted his hammer with a grin. Then let's go fishing. A faint ripple of laughter passed through the group. Short, genuine, exhausted. Taryn glanced toward the flickering map projection. If it is water next, that's elemental. Highest unlock odds. Maybe one of us gets lucky again. Dark snorted. Wouldn't mind another surprise. Bash closed the map. Pack it up. We move. The team gathered their gear, checked weapons, and started toward the river, their silhouettes cutting through the brightening horizon. 3 battles down, 2 days left. And now, 4 unlocked with 3 abilities. Thank you for reading this chapter. Your support means the world to me. If you enjoyed it, please consider giving a thumbs up, leaving a positive review or a comment. It truly helps a debut author like myself. As this is my first novel, I am still learning, and I would love to hear your constructive feedback to help me improve. I'll do my best to reply to your comments. If you would like a better understanding of Bash's origin and family, check out my book Before the Genesis. It tells the story of Kyle and Abby and has some lead up right into this novel. Brendock Chapter 55. Ripples and resonance. The team's mood was light as they moved, laughter threading through the cool morning air. For the first time since entering the white portal, the weight in their steps had less to do with fatigue and more to do with pride. 3 days in and still standing, Richter said, swinging his hammer across his shoulder as they climbed a low ridge. That's gotta count for something. Count it, Callan saw. ID, let's see. 103 of those horned things. The cat, the bees, the rabbits, and the bird. What's that get us? Bash opened the log on his wrist display, the holographic numbers reflecting off his fatigues. 309 from the herd, 12 for the cat, 1137 from the swarm. He paused, double-checking the final line, plus the 3 from the last fight. 1476 total, Nair said with a grin. Not bad for a bunch of rookies. Feels like we've been doing this for months, Dark said. Not 2 days. Could be worse, Taryn said, tightening the strap on her holster. We could be dead. Richter barked a laugh. With this lineup, doubtful. Bash let them talk as they walked. He could feel the confidence building again, the fatigue masked by small victories. His thoughts, though, kept circling back to the same thing, the brief electric jolt he felt every time a creature fell. It wasn't pain, exactly almost every time something dies near me. He thought back, an accurate analogy. SC said in his mind, just a sharp reminder that something unseen was happening each time essence released into the air and chose him. He didn't bring it up. Not yet. Feels like someone flicking my heart by midday. The terrain began to change. The dry plains gave way to denser growth, clusters of trees, thick roots crossing the path, and damp soil that clung to their boots. The sound reached them before the sight of it, a low, rhythmic thunder. The river, Leor said quietly. They pushed through the brush and emerged at the edge of a wide flow, the water bright silver under the light. Across the river, tall trees leaned over the opposite bank, their leaves dark and waxy. 5 large birds perched along the ridge beyond, each with 4 broad wings folded tightly against their sides. They were enormous, easily 3 meters tall, beaks sharp as knives. Nair was the first to notice them. They are watching us. Bash followed her gaze. The birds were perfectly still, predators assessing. Keep eyes on them, he said. The water itself was alive. Thousands of sleek, silver-bodied fish swam upstream in a tight current, leaping intermittently, flashing scales in the sun. The sheer number was staggering, an endless, shifting ribbon of motion. Swanning run, Callan murmured. Looks like it goes on forever. Let's hope it stays that W. Richter said, crouching to look closer. Nair adjusted her rifle scope. Only one way to find out if they are aggressive. She lined up a shot before anyone could stop her. Wait, Bash started. The rifle cracked, echoing across the water. The shot missed by inches, refracted through the current and splitting the surface instead of piercing it. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the water bulged. One of the fish broke the surface and fired a narrow stream of water with the force of a bullet. It struck like lightning. Richter moved without thinking, stepping in front of Nair. The shot hit his shoulder, tearing through the fabric and cutting a shallow but clean line across the muscle. Chit, he hissed, stumbling back. Contact, Bash shouted, drawing his sidearm. The fish that had fur. Ed lingered near the surface, mouth open as if charging another shot. Bash didn't hesitate. One of his knives flashed, flying in a perfect arc and sinking straight down its throat. The creature convulsed once and floated to the top. Bash felt it immediately. A pulse, faint but unmistakable, rippling through his chest like a short electric sting, and another minor essence pulse detected. As he said, Bash exhaled slowly through his nose. Same as the bees, he thought. Tier 1 common feedback. Correct. Non-harmful. Did anything unlock? Negative. No new pathways detected. He gave a small nod to himself, irritation fading into focus as he waded forward to retrieve his knife in the floating body. The rest of the river stayed calm. No swarm, no retaliation. Looks like they don't see. Are about each other, Callan said cautiously. Ash waded cautiously knee-deep, grabbed the floating fish, and hauled it onto the bank. Its body gleamed wetly, scales catching the light. One of them glowed faintly along the flank, a soft blue shimmer. He retrieved his knife, then used it to pry the glowing scale loose. Tier 1 common, he said after SC confirmed. That tracks, he added silently. Could have guessed it from the pulse intensity. Your readings were consistent. SC replied. Resonance strength aligns closely with tier level. Bash gave a small, thoughtful nod. Guess I'm getting a feel for it. Developing sensory correlation as expected. Continue observation. He slid the scale into his pouch and straightened, scanning the still surface of the water as the faint echo of the pulse faded from his chest. Richter was still holding his shoulder, blood seeping through his sleeve. Could have been worse, he said through clenched teeth. Would have taken Nair's head off. Sit, Taryn said sharply. She was already digging through her kit. Her hands trembled slightly, not from fear, but from inexperience. Let me try. Richter gave her a doubtful look but obeyed, sitting on a nearby rock. You sure you know what you're doing, healer? No, she admitted, but we're going to find out. She took a deep breath, focusing the way she remembered Jouk describing ability control through intent, not force. A faint glow built around her palms, white at first, then shifting into soft gold. She pressed them lightly against the wound. The glow pulsed, faltered, then steadied. Rixer winced but didn't pull away. Warm feels weird, he said through gritted teeth. Good weird or bad weird? She asked, concentrating. Both. For several seconds, nothing seemed to happen. Then the blood stopped seeping. The edges of the cut knit slowly, tissue reforming beneath her touch. It wasn't fast. It was raw control, her will forcing the energy into focus. Sweat beaded along her forehead as she held the glow steady. When it finally dimmed, the wound had closed to a thin line. Rixer flexed his arm experimentally. That's actually pretty damn good. Taryn leaned back, exhaling hard. Yeah, well, don't get used to instant miracles. That took a lot of what I had. Vash gave her a nod. Still better than bleeding out. Nice work. He turned back to the water. The current was F. All of movement again. Hundreds of silver shapes weaving and glinting below the surface. Refraction will deflect most shots, S.E. said. Compensate downward for submerged targets. Got it, Vash muttered, then relayed the instruction aloud. Aim low. The water bends the line of sight. Copy, Nair said, adjusting her rifle. The next few hours turned into controlled chaos. They learned quickly. The fish were aggressive only when threatened, and the water shots came from just beneath the surface. But once one died, it sometimes triggered others to attack, as if drawn to the vibration. Every kill brought another faint jolt through Bash's chest, mild, but relentless. By the 20th, it had become a constant rhythm, like a heartbeat out of sync. Persistent essence discharge detected, SC reported calmly. Annoying pattern. No kidding, he thought grimly. Rixer adapted poorly at first. He swung wide whenever a fish leapt, but the water distorted their position. His hammer hit empty space more often than not. The misses came at a cost. Every time he struck water instead of flesh, a jet of pressurized fluid hit back, smacking into his torso, shoulders, and arms. Even with high durability, the impacts left bruises and shallow cuts. Gotta say, he muttered between swings, not my favorite environment. Try aiming instead of guessing, Callan shouted, loosing another arrow. His shots fared better, occasionally piercing the surface to impale a fish mid-leap, but one ricocheted off the water wrong and came back at a bad angle. His cry of pain broke the steady rhythm of the fight. A water shot had hit him square in the forearm, punching clean through the muscle. Blood spattered across the rocks. Callan's down, Leora yelled. Taryn dropped to her knees beside him. Hold still. The wound was bad, nearly a hole. The edges sizzled faintly where the water had struck, like the energy inside it burned on contact. Callan's face was dull, sweat beading instantly. Just do it, he hissed. Taryn took a deep breath, forcing her focus again. The light flared to life around her hands, but the intensity sputtered. She steadied it, whispering under her breath as she pushed the glow into the wound. The flesh trembled beneath her touch, veins glowing faintly gold. The first attempt failed. The wound sealed halfway, then tore open again with a wet sound. Come on, S, he whispered, jaw tight. Work, damn it. The second try was better. The light pulsed in slow waves, deeper, more controlled. Callan's breathing slowed. His color started to return. When she pulled her hands away several minutes later, the hole was gone. Only the dull mark remained. She slumped back, exhausted, chest rising and falling heavily. That's better, Callan said, flexing his hand weakly. Still feels like fire, but better. Rixer chuckled. Guess our healer's getting faster already. Shut up, Taryn said, half laughing, half breathless. Next time, dodge. They kept at it until the light began to shift. The pile of silver-scaled bodies on the river bank grew steadily. Dozens, then hundreds. The air smelled faintly of wet stone and iron. By the end, everyone was exhausted. Taryn's energy was nearly spent. She patched Rixer 6 more times and Callan twice more after glancing hits. Bash stood watch over the growing pile, eyes flicking between the water and the sky. Each time another fish died, another pulse ran through his chest. They were minor shocks now, dull and rhythmic, matching the low-level essence readings Essie had identified. Still no unlocks, he thought quietly. Affirmative. SC replied. Resonance remained shallow. T1G patterns only. He exhaled, frustration low but steady. So I get all the pain and none of the reward. Inaccurate. You get data. He almost smiled. You and your sarcasm. I'm still learning from you. When the current finally began to thin, the water settled. The fish no longer surfaced. Bash signaled the halt, and the team began harvesting. They worked methodically, cutting out the glowing scales one by one, stacking them in mesh bags. Each fragment shimmered faintly blue, small, delicate, harmless. The rhythmic sound of blades slicing and scales clinking into the bags was almost calming after the chaos of the fight. Richter knelt beside the pile, flexing his newly healed arm, looking at the pile. Just about halfway through, he muttered, "Feels like we've been here for hours." "You have," Taryn said, half smiling as she sealed another bag. "You're just slower than the rest of us. Careful." He shot back. "Some of us are the reason you're still breathing." The banner drew a few tired laughs, a release of tension. Nair shifted position to reach another fish, her rifle laid across her knees. The river murmured beside them, calm and deceptively peaceful. Then Bash stopped. His knife froze halfway through a cut. A prickle ran down the back of his neck. He looked up. Above the tree line, 5 shadows circled in widening loops, large, graceful, and silent except for the faint beat of 4 wings each. They weren't just gliding anymore. They were watching. "Movement," Bash said quietly. The others followed his gaze just as one of the shapes let out a shrill, echoing cry. The call split the air, sharp and metallic. The remaining 4 peeled out of formation and began diving straight toward them. "Drop the bags," Bash barked, standing fast. "Form up! Defensive!" The river erupted in reflected light as the team shifted instantly, fatigue gone, weapons snapping into ready position around the half-hearse, Ted pile of glowing scales. The birds across the river were gone. "Eyes up," he said sharply. Nair followed his gaze. They were perched there a second ago. A sharp, echoing cry split the air. 5 shapes cut through the clouds, broad wings glinting in the light, diving straight toward them. Richter stepped in front, hammer ready. The others moved quickly into a circle, weapons up, backs to the pile of fish. The air filled with the rush of feathers and the shriek of descent. The first of the 4-winged predators leveled its flight path, shadow sweeping over them. Thank you for reading this chapter. Your support means the world to me. If you enjoyed it, please consider giving a thumbs up, leaving a positive review or a comment. It truly helps a debut author like myself. As this is my first novel, I am still learning, and I would love to hear your constructive feedback to help me improve. I'll do my best to reply to your comments. If you would like a better understanding of Bash's origin and family, check out my book Before the Genesis. It tells the story of Kyle and Abby and has some lead up right into this novel. Brundock.